This deep 49ers update begins with what we call an Isaiah Neyor bomb. And we've got to give credit to Mac Jones for the dime, the 50-yard dime. This was at practice today. This is the rookie undrafted free agent. In a video courtesy, the 49ers hauling one in the midst of triple coverage. There he is, signaling first down. How about a replay? How about one more time? Great job by the 49ers capturing this. Check all of their clips and their photos out on social media. That was at practice today. A great day 2 of training camp in Santa Clara. A wild day 2 of training camp, because now we got a situation elsewhere in the league. Christian Wilkins, former Raiders defensive tackle. I say former because the Raiders have said, well, we are going to cut you. And not only are the Raiders cutting Christian Wilkins, they are voiding over $35 million in guarantees. Here's the original news from Adam Schefter. As you can see here, the Raiders are releasing defensive tackle Christian Wilkins with a designation of terminated vested veteran. His time in Vegas is over. Due to how Wilkins treated the rehab from his foot injury he suffered last season, the Raiders voided the remaining $35.2 million of guaranteed money left on Wilkins' deal. I've never heard of that much money being voided. Basically, what happened in this situation is the Raiders took this contract. I know we look at a lot of these for the 49ers, but just to put this into perspective for you, because I know that you guys are big fans of the league and are interested in some of the business side of it. The Raiders had $8 million coming to Christian Wilkins, which was supposed to be guaranteed this year. And then on, I think it was April 1st or March 17th, at some point earlier this offseason, this right here, the $27.25 million base salary for next season vested into a full guarantee. So you add those two up, and that's $35.25 million fully guaranteed that was supposed to come to Christian Wilkins. And the Raiders said, well, we don't like the way that you're rehabbing this Jones fracture, this foot injury. We are voiding it. Obviously, Wilkins filed a grievance. So this is now going to be in the hands of lawyers. I think the Raiders essentially invited a lawsuit. And, well, we're going to get to the bottom of this over the course of the next several weeks. Now, surface level logic tells you that Christian Wilkins was not healthy enough to play for the Raiders right now. But when we look a little bit deeper into this, it's interesting at the very least to me, because Diana Rossini started tweeting that Christian Wilkins is going to start visiting other teams. Apparently, the reason that Wilkins and the Raiders initially got into a disagreement is because the Raiders thought that he needed another surgery. He already had one. The Raiders thought that he needed a second surgery, and Christian Wilkins said that, no, I'm not going to have another surgery. And supposedly he consulted multiple different doctors for opinions. I don't know exactly what those opinions were, but at least on the surface here, reading some of those tweets, it seems that Christian Wilkins might think that he's closer to being able to play than the Raiders thought. Now, this is obviously going to go to some sort of court. I don't know if it's going to go to the formal legal system or if this will stay in front of the NFL and the NFLPA, and however that's going to be settled. There's a grievance first, and this could be escalated beyond that because there's a lot of money on the line. But it immediately got me thinking, do the 49ers need defensive tackle help? Because this is actually a line of thought that I've recently gone down. When I look at San Francisco's defense, and again, I am in no way advocating sign Christian Wilkins. I think any team that does potentially sign him, it's not going to be until after he comes in and that team's doctors have a look at his foot, because it's been a long time since the Jones fracture. But he's 29 and he was playing really good football when he got hurt. He played 5 games for the Raiders. The season before for Miami, he had 9 sacks. I mean, he could rush the passer. He could stop the run. Any team that might need a defensive tackle would benefit from a healthy Christian Wilkins. Now, we don't know how healthy he's going to be. The situation is wild. The situation is weird, but it's the news of the afternoon. It's worth talking about because of the unusual nature of the contract situation. And we can go ahead and look at the 49ers defensive tackle situation to point out a potential flaw in this defense as they really try to renovate it over the course of this offseason and then, of course, now training camp. So take a look at the defensive line. I've got it here. It's where this big lump of green is. Green means rookie. Defensive tackle specifically. I think the 49ers' ultimate goal is to see a couple rookies in starting positions at defensive tackle. That's CJ West, the big nose tackle type, one technique type out of Indiana, and Alfred Collins, the very tall three technique out of Texas. Whether or not these two players are day one starters once the regular season begins remains to be seen, but that is the vision that the 49ers have. They want Collins and West, two rookies, to man the inside. Now, who exactly are Collins and West? What are their strengths as football players? Go back to what the 49ers focused on in this NFL draft. They are run defenders first. Can they develop into pass rushers? Sure. But the first order of business for San Francisco this offseason was to stop the run because the run defense was so damn bad in recent years. The prior 2 years, it was terrible. So they went out and they got Alfred Collins, Mykel Williams. We could talk about him later. We will talk about him later. Trent Williams had some great intel on Mykel Williams. So stay tuned for that. But Mykel Williams, great edge setter in college football, obviously was targeted toward stopping the run. Alfred Collins, Texas only allowed 2.9 yards per carry whenever Alfred Collins with that big, long frame was on the football field. Then CJ West single-handedly transformed Indiana's run defense. So the two defensive tackles that the 49ers got in the NFL draft, bona fide run defenders. But you think about the two defensive tackles whom the 49ers lost in free agency, Javon Hargrave and Malik Collins, just the opposite. Not good run defenders. Both of those guys, though, were bona fide pass rushers. So the 49ers replaced defensive tackle pass rushers with run defenders. Who else did they have in the room? Well, they've got Kevin Givens, but he's not a starting caliber player. Kevin Givens has been good rotational depth for the 49ers for a long time, since 2019. They've got Jordan Elliott on this team. This is definitely more of a run defender than a pass rusher. That's his strength. His run defense doesn't generate much in terms of pass rushing. They've got Evan Anderson, who showed some pass rushing juice last year. I'll give it to him. Still a developing player. We'll see if he can take that next step. So maybe he's got some juice in that regard, but nothing near prime Hargrave or prime Malik Collins. They've got Kalia Davis, still very much a project that probably has to prove himself over this training camp. And they've got Sebastian Valdez, who's an undrafted free agent out of Washington. We don't know much about him yet. He's going to have to prove himself once the pads come on. So out of the players I just listed, the only real demonstrated type of pass rushing juice in the NFL is coming from Kevin Givens and Evan Anderson. So when you pose the question that I do down here, do the 49ers need defensive tackle help? I would say maybe from a pass rushing standpoint, they could definitely use a little extra juice. Now, maybe CJ West, maybe Alfred Collins show up and are very, very strong pass rushers much sooner than one would expect. Maybe the 49ers will get a lot of pass rushing juice from shifting guys inside, like Yetur Gross-Matos, a veteran who already had success in that regard last year, or Mykel Williams lined up everywhere for Georgia, so I'm sure that he's going to be working against guards as well. I'm sure that he'll be aligned at one of those defensive tackle positions. Maybe the 49ers can generate the interior pass rushing presence they need with what they already have. But when I look at San Francisco's depth chart, and you know that I keep really, really close tabs on this, as you can see right here, this is the evidence. I would say that the one glaring lack to me on paper is the presence of proven pass rushers at the defensive tackle position. So that's why when you hear this Christian Wilkins situation in Vegas and you see that he's a free agent, your ears have to at least perk up. Obviously, you have to investigate the situation. And then once you start investigating this, you truly have the potential to go down a rabbit hole because it is a wild, wild situation. I mean, just look at the statement that the Raiders put out. Like, this is such a Raiders situation, and this is the most Raiders statement of all time. Obviously, not getting along with Christian Wilkins. I mean, whenever you void $35.2 million in guarantees, it's safe to say that it's a breakup, right? Raiders, right? We have decided that it is in the best interest of the organization to move on from Christian Wilkins, and he has been informed of his release from the team. This franchise, you could end there, by the way. You can end there and everything would be fine, but the Raiders continue. They're not done. This franchise has a commitment to excellence on and off the field. With no clear path or plan for future return to play for Christian, this transaction is necessary for the entire organization to move forward and prepare for the new season. And then the Raiders, they've got commitment to excellence written a bunch of times at the top and the bottom here. They circle commitment to excellence at the very bottom. You guys see this here? Let me take away the text title. Look at this. They literally circle one of the commitment to excellence in the bottom. I didn't circle it myself. The Raiders did that. What an FU to Christian Wilkins on his way out from the Raiders. I mean, it is the most Raiders way to cut someone ever. I know that they've got Pete Carroll there now and Will Spytek, the general manager now for the Raiders. So there's a fresh regime there. And I know Carroll's done it at a high level elsewhere, won a Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks and has actually been known as a player's kind of coach. And obviously he's got some influence on what they're doing from a personnel standpoint. But it just seems that whoever goes to the Raiders starts behaving in a manner that befits the Raiders. Like, it doesn't matter who's in charge of the Raiders or who's playing for the Raiders. They're going to act like Raiders. So yesterday we had Max Crosby. Did you guys see that? Max Crosby said that he is 100% going to get into a fight, or he said he has a 100% fight rate at joint practices. And he started talking about the 49ers joint practice, which is coming up on August, probably 17th or 18th. At some point in Vegas, the 49ers and the Raiders are going to have a joint practice. Max Crosby's going to be there. And Crosby starts talking about all the great 49ers players, and he's excited to practice against all of those guys. And then he starts talking about his 100% fight rate at practice. And I'm just sitting there watching it, and I'm like, this is the most Raiders thing ever. I love watching Max Crosby play. I'm not being critical of him right now at all. I'm just saying that's the most Raiders thing that I have ever watched or listened to. A superstar player from the Raiders talking about his 100% fight rate and how he thinks there's going to be a fight when he has a joint practice against the 49ers. So sometimes things just follow the brand. And in the case of the Raiders, they definitely do follow the brand in this instance. You know, adding to the Christian Wilkins drama, the Raiders obviously saying this guy is not ready to play, no clear path to play. There was a video that came out a few days ago. Let's show it. Video is from the Raiders weight room, and Christian Wilkins is dancing, and he's wearing Crocs. And now apparently the Raiders want him to get another surgery. Now you could look at this one of two ways. He's not taking his rehab seriously because he's dancing, I think, to the Backstreet Boys or whatever they were playing there while wearing Crocs. But you could also say he looks a little healthier maybe than the Raiders seem to be leading on. Now I get it. I know that taking on an offensive lineman in the NFL is different than dancing in Crocs in the weight room to a boy band, but it's just something to think about. Again, this is just a wild, wild situation. And with the 49ers set to do a joint practice with the Raiders coming up next month. I figured we'd talk about it here on the show. Anyway, day 2, 49ers update. It is Neyor bomb day. If you want to know what the Neyor bomb is, well, it's this right here. 49ers social media team did a great job. Go ahead and follow them. You've got Mac Jones deep to Isaiah Neyor. How about that? In triple coverage, Jason Pinnock, 25, one of the defenders back there. Darrell Luter Jr. also back there. And Isaiah Neyor, one of the best athletes in this entire draft class, has already made a splash at 49ers training camp. Now, this was on the day that San Francisco had to sign another camp body at the wide receiver position. That's Quintez Cephas. Now, I explained this yesterday. The 49ers have now signed 2 receivers this week. Equanimeous St. Brown and Quintez Cephas. I know, 2 guys who are going to be in the name Hall of Fame. Why did they sign those 2 players? Well, because they needed bodies to fill out the roster and safely run training camp practices. Kyle Shanahan wants at least 10 receivers capable of practicing to make it through these camp sessions. When Ricky Pearsall landed on PUP and was going to be out for the first 3 practices because they're just building up his endurance. He didn't get hurt again. He just needs a little bit more time. The 49ers are playing it safe with Ricky. When that happened, the 49ers determined, okay, we're going to bring in Equanimeous St. Brown because, again, Brandon Ayuk is already on the shelf right now for San Francisco. And then when Jacob Cowing hurt his hamstring on Wednesday, the 49ers said, well, we need to bring in another receiver. So they worked out 6 of these guys on Monday. The top 2 workouts belong to Equanimeous St. Brown and Quintez Cephas. They needed 2 healthy guys to plug and play right away so they can make it through practice. Neither is likely to make the 53-man roster. One of them might scrap his way onto the practice squad. That's neither here nor there. The 49ers just have a need at this position, and they're filling that need with these 2 veterans. But the need at the position also means that there is opportunity for the young guys and even some of the older guys on this football team. 2 receivers in particular are taking full advantage of this opportunity, just based on what I'm seeing with my naked eye. Isaiah Neyor, undrafted free agent out of Nebraska by way of Texas and Wyoming, 6'4", 218, 151, 10-yard split. I mean, just a hell of an athlete. Mike, if you can send me some of that relative athletic score stuff on Neyor again, we'll put it up on the screen. The other guy who is truly turning heads right now through 2 practices, because I didn't expect to be calling his name this often, is Russell Gage. Russell Gage is a 29-year-old veteran, was with the 49ers practice squad to end last season. Started his career with the Falcons back in 2018. He's made the most catches of any 49ers receiver through the first 2 practices. Don't read too far into this. It is still early, but I am just reporting what we see, and what I see is opportunity because receivers are currently hurt for the 49ers, and I've seen 2 players in particular who we weren't talking about last year in Russell Gage and Isaiah Neyor seizing some of that opportunity and making plays out on the field for the 49ers. How this develops, we shall see. But I can tell you that Isaiah Neyor has a truly, truly elite athletic profile. We could even put this up on the screen. You know, it just came to our attention that one of the numbers in this athletic profile, an important one, is actually incorrect. It's actually better than it appears on the screen. I'm going to put it up for you guys right now. So you guys see the 10-yard split for Isaiah Neyor? 7.91 is the score because it says 1.56 10-yard split. That's actually a typo. He actually has a 1.51 second 10-yard split, which would also be elite. So elite in terms of size, 6'4", 218. Elite in terms of explosion. Elite in terms of speed. The agility not as great for Isaiah Neyor, but I tell you what, he sure looked agile while he was hauling in that deep pass today from Mac Jones in the midst of triple coverage. That was impressive stuff from Isaiah Neyor. We can look a little bit further into things. Here's the spider chart for this receiver. I mean, there's a reason that we were talking so much about him immediately following the draft when San Francisco added Isaiah Neyor as an undrafted free agent. And the reason was because of this. This is how he measures percentile-wise against other wide receivers. The 6'4" is 87th percentile. The wingspan is 97th percentile. And you've got to believe that the way that he made the catch today, a lot of it was because of the gifts physically that he can bring to the table. Now, a lot of people had talked about the lack of consistency that Isaiah Neyor showed in college, but was that more a lack of consistency due to injuries? Because he definitely saw a couple hurdles there. I mean, first he was at Wyoming where he put up big numbers, had like 13 or 14 touchdowns in one season at Wyoming. So then he goes to Texas, but he suffers an injury that shelves him, and that's a loaded team. So was the lack of consistency due to a lack of ability, or was it just because of a situation that didn't break in his favor? Probably primarily because of those injuries. It's a good question because in Nebraska, the production started picking up again last season. So he just hasn't had a chance to string things together. I know that there might have been some attitude issues at Texas. We talked to Bobby Burton about that. Mike had a great point, though, that Isaiah Neyor, despite this insanely impressive athletic resume, went undrafted. There might not be anything that's more humbling for a big-time traits-based prospect like Isaiah Neyor than sitting through draft weekend and not hearing your name called. So, there could be guys that are first or second round picks with this kind of athletic profile who had attitude issues in college, and maybe those persist in the NFL because they get some guaranteed money if they're picked high up in the NFL draft, and things are still coming their way. There's really no happening that forces them to reflect. There's nothing that forces introspection. But when you go undrafted, I mean, that could be very, very humbling. And then you've got to fight for your spot because nothing is guaranteed. And I get it. The 49ers have this sliver of opportunity. Maybe it's bigger. Maybe it's a window of opportunity at the receiver room. But Isaiah Neyor is having to scratch and claw for it. And you really have to be impressed with what you've seen from him over the course of the first couple of days. Because it hadn't just been the bomb today from Isaiah Neyor. First off, there was one during OTAs. I believe that Brock Purdy threw it. We could get the video right now. Mike just sent it to me. But today he caught a crossing pattern as well. He made a catch yesterday, day one of training camp. So it wasn't just the one play from Mac Jones. Isaiah Neyor has been delivering for the 49ers ever since the spring. Here, we can take a look at the one from the spring. This is the one from the spring. Yep, that was Purdy. And that is Isaiah Neyor making the catch. This is from or is that Mordecai? I don't know. I have to make this a little bit bigger up on the screen. Is that Purdy or is that Mordecai? Mike, can you let me know? Because I can't even hit the play button right now. Can't even see the screen. It's Mordecai. Yeah, let's give credit to Tanner Mordecai who made this throw. I'm looking at a tiny little thumbnail version of the video, so I couldn't tell if it was 13 or 14. Tanner Mordecai today did not have a great day, by the way. That was from OTAs, that video that we just played. Today, Tanner Mordecai threw an interception. Stone Blanton, remember we talked about him, linebacker out of Mississippi State, the guy that got married the weekend of the 49ers rookie mini camp, so he wasn't there. Well, today he was there. Today he intercepted Tanner Mordecai. Little pass underneath, stepped in front of him. Not a good throw from Tanner, who struggled definitely a lot more than the 49ers started today. Brock Purdy was really good. And Mac Jones made some good throws as well. You saw one of them there to Isaiah Neyor. I know I talked about Purdy a lot, though, in our instant reaction. Make sure you take a look at that video. And also make sure that you head on over to the San Francisco Standard, because we've got the big article for you up on the San Francisco Standard. This is today. I wrote about D. Winters, who had that interception of Brock Purdy on Wednesday. Everybody hit the notification bell. Make sure those are on for you. And also go sign up for the Standard if you haven't done so yet. We talk about Dre Greenlaw's replacement. The first up in that battle is D. Winters. The 49ers linebacker is making a leap. So go check that out. Winters, he looks a little bigger than he did last year, which is, I think, necessary. And the one thing that D has struggled with is availability. Needs to be on the field more to take advantage of his opportunities. Now, I know last year he was behind Devondre Campbell on the depth chart, and he had to fight that, and then he had to fight the injuries. And then both things kind of happened simultaneously in that Rams game where Devondre Campbell quit on the team, and it was just a brutal season. I think that the overarching point is that the 49ers need consistency. Like, they are starved for consistency at the linebacker spot opposite Fred Warner, which is why they didn't give the Dre Greenlaw pursuit, I think, 100% of their effort. Like, if they really, really wanted to re-sign Dre Greenlaw at $15 million a year, or however much he would have commanded to stay with the 49ers, I think that the 49ers would have done it if they really wanted to. But I think they love Dre, but I think they also recognize the fact that he only played 34 snaps last year, and that health is not a guarantee for him moving forward. And it was really, really difficult for them because they wanted him back at their price. They wanted him back at a relative discount, and he was able to get a good chunk of change and probably felt pursued and more desired by the Denver Broncos. And he's going to be back in Santa Clara here in a couple of weeks. There's going to be a joint practice, I think, 2 weeks from now on August 7th. And we're going to get a chance to see Dre Greenlaw then. But long story short, the 49ers didn't bring back Dre Greenlaw. You can agree with it. You could disagree with it. It's water under the bridge. But I can tell you facts. And one of the facts is the 49ers were starved for more consistency at the linebacker position opposite Fred Warner. The one thing that D. Winters has yet to bring is consistency. But this is his golden opportunity to bring that consistency. This right now, he needs to seize it. He is the number 2 guy as we speak. The number 3 guy, that's up in the air. Luke Gifford has that spot right now. Everybody's going to ask about Nick Martin. Everybody's going to ask about Stone Blanton. And I'll tell you, Nick Martin had a nice tackle today, or at least a nice stop. You can't tackle live to the ground. And I can tell you that Stone Blanton had an interception. I'll also tell you that both of those guys are rookies. I don't expect rookies to thrust themselves into starting consideration at the very start of their rookie seasons. Fred Warner was special in 2018. And, even though the 49ers have a lot of pieces to replace defensively, 40% of the snaps this year, the roster was still much more devoid of talent back when they drafted Warner out of the 3rd round in 2018. But yes, he did start right away. He did force a fumble in his very first game against Minnesota. It does illustrate that the cream will rise to the top, right? So if Nick Martin is ready to go, if he's made of the right stuff, he will find his way onto the field. Stone Blanton will find his way onto the field. Chaz Surratt, a veteran, maybe he just hadn't had the right opportunity yet, but he's back with Robert Saleh. He might find his way out onto the field. That will work itself out, but that currently is the number 3 linebacker battle. Number 2, the driver's seat belongs to D. Winters, and he's got to show that consistency because he has shown the flashes already of ability that the 49ers need. And so I talked to Robert Saleh about it today, talked to D. Winters about it today, and I turned out this article that you have up on the screen. This is up on the San Francisco Standard. We go in depth into D. Winters' critical first opportunity, first bite out of the apple to be the successor to Dre Greenlaw. So if you do anything, go click on that right now in the description and sign up for the San Francisco Standard. It is going to be well worth your time over the course of this football season. The most in-depth 49ers coverage that there is. All right, what's next? Ooh, the Trent Williams Intel gold mine on Mykel Williams. So first off, Mykel Williams was headed down to Cabo this offseason. And Mykel doesn't want to fly commercial to Cabo. Because why would you do that if one of your new teammates has a private jet. So he called up Trent Williams and he said, hey, man, can I take your private jet, or can we take your private jet down to Cabo? Long story short, Trent Williams, who's entering year 16 in the NFL, hung out in Cabo this offseason with Mykel Williams, who's entering year 1 in the NFL. The Williams brothers, right? Trent Williams, Mykel Williams, hanging out in Cabo after Mykel Williams asked Trent Williams if they could use his private jet. Anyway, now they're going to be facing each other with pads on starting Monday at training camp. And it's not going to be all too fun for Trent Williams to try to block Mykel Williams. And Big Trent spent today explaining why.
Huge dude, man. Generally don't see guys that size on the edge. So, I mean, it sucks having a base block guys with arms, long as your legs. But, I mean, I think he has a chance to be a really good player in this NFL. I think he has a chance to be dominant. He has the best coach in the league pushing him. Get to learn from some of the best guys to learn from, obviously Nick. So I'm happy to see how he turned out. I think he got all the tools to be all-pro. And obviously going against Nick, I think we feed off each other so much. And he makes me better. I like to feel like I make him better. He keeps me engaged. He keeps me, working on myself because nobody likes to get embarrassed. He's one of them players that, not in a mean way, but yeah, he would embarrass me if I let him, and that's just him making me better. And so it's always good going against Nick, one of my better friends on the team, but obviously one of the best players in the league, and being able to size yourself up against him, especially me going into 16 and not knowing where that cliff is. When I get to go off against Nick, it kind of gives me a good measuring stick.
Okay, so consider the fact that Trent Williams, one of the largest humans in the National Football League, just said that it was daunting to go up against Mykel Williams because of how big Mykel Williams is. Consider the fact that Trent Williams is raving about a defensive lineman or just a fellow player's arms being as long as his legs. Like Trent saying, Mykel's arms are the length of my legs. I know that he's exaggerating, but just put that into perspective. Trent Williams is a massive dude. The fact that Trent Williams is sitting there and admiring the size of one of his opponents in practice, but teammates, youngster that uses his private jet, the fact that Trent Williams is looking at Mykel Williams that way, that's rare. Trent Williams talked more about Mykel Williams' size. And before I get to that, I really have to add some more perspective. And it's that Williams is talking about Mykel Williams' wingspan, arms longer than his legs. Mykel Williams doesn't even have the longest wingspan of this 2025 49ers draft class. Yeah, he's got long arms and he's turned that length to power. But Alfred Collins has even longer arms. Alfred Collins, that's the 7-foot wingspan that I talk about. Mykel's a little bit shorter. So if Trent Williams is thinking that he's going to have some trouble once pads come on blocking Mykel Williams, imagine what guards who are shorter than Trent Williams, with shorter arms than Trent Williams, imagine what guards are going to have to deal with when it comes to blocking Alfred Collins, who has even longer arms than Mykel Williams. Okay, I think you finally might understand, those of you who haven't really comprehended what size can do for the 49ers defensive line, I think you might finally understand where the 49ers are going with this. The length that they drafted in rounds 1 and 2 is meant to be transformative for this defensive line at the very core of what the defensive line is trying to do, and that is stop the run. They're trying to use length converted into power. Both Collins and Mykel Williams were able to do that in college. Now we'll see if they can do it in the NFL. The 49ers, not too long ago, Robert Saleh was the defensive coordinator, had a couple players on the inside that did a really, really good job translating length to power. So just listen here at the comp that Trent Williams makes for Mykel Williams.
That's why he kind of puts you in the mind of a young DeForest Buckner. But obviously he's a little more slight in the frame, can play the edge, can play outside, inside. So in a sense, he does, but, I think he has his own makeup that kind of makes him different as well. So, like I said, he's an intriguing prospect. Just watching him the first few days, he looks promising. So just can't wait to see where he ends up.
Isn't that something? Trent Williams wasn't with the 49ers when DeForest Buckner was on the team. So it's not like Trent was looking for a 49ers comp. That was a natural comp that he came up with out of all the NFL players that he could have compared Mykel Williams to. He actually picked a defensive tackle who used to play for the 49ers, who did a lot of the stuff that the 49ers are going to want Mykel Williams to do, but obviously at a different position. But Mykel, this is the thing about Mykel. He played everywhere along the line in Georgia. They call it the jack, the position that he played in Kirby Smart's defense. He would play at the 1 technique, at the 3 technique. He'd kick out wide and he'd rush from the edge. It was a different style of rushing, but positionally, this guy had the body to line up everywhere and have success doing it for the Georgia Bulldogs. So when you listen to Trent talk, you could definitely understand how this comparison size-wise to DeForest Buckner might manifest itself when it comes to play on an NFL football field. Because he said Buckner, except a little bit lighter in the feet, so he could play on the edge. DeForest Buckner wasn't going to line up on the edge. Buckner was going to be, he's more of a stalwart inside, right? He was going to operate in those closed quarters of the inside. Mykel Williams, though, he's got the length that you really like. He's obviously going to be a little bit shorter than Buckner, but he's got a lot of the arm length. And he's got a little bit more speed, maybe a little bit more bounce, so he can play out on the edge. But with Georgia, he played everywhere. It was adaptability that the 49ers absolutely loved. And hey, if the guy and his potential gets Trent Williams' endorsement, it probably gets mine, because Trent Williams knows the game better than I do. I'm not afraid to go out and acknowledge that. In fact, when I'm in the 49ers locker room, if I need to learn something about the game that I don't know well enough, there are generally 3 people that I go to. Back in 2018, the go-to for me was Richard Sherman, 100%. And Richard Sherman, one of the best teachers of the game in a locker room that you'll ever find. The only reason that he's not a coach is because he could be on TV, because he's so good on camera, right? And I think that's a more glamorous job, that television job. But he does a great job breaking it down there. Richard helped me a ton throughout my early career as a reporter, both at Stanford and then with the 49ers, as far as understanding some of the nuances of the game. But nowadays, because Richard Sherman's not there anymore, you go over to Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa has taught me a ton about the game. Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams. Trent Williams is a walking football oracle. So if Trent Williams likes something about what Mykel Williams can physically bring to the table, you listen and you nod your head. You don't disagree with that. You don't pretend like you know more just because you played Madden the other week. You nod your head. Trent Williams is going to be right about this situation. So long story short, I cannot wait to see Trent Williams versus Nick Bosa at 49ers practice once pads come on. And I'm sure we're going to get our dose of Trent Williams versus Mykel Williams after Mykel was able to fly on Trent Williams' private jet. Another piece of news. I know I tossed this into the headline because we're talking about potential signings moving up for the 49ers. Today on Kay Adams' show, Gabe Davis, who visited the 49ers, remember I reported this a couple months ago, Gabe Davis visited San Francisco, the former Buffalo Bills wide receiver. Well, he had some words to say about the 49ers. This is on Kay Adams' show, so credit to them. Let's watch this right now.
On a visit there, it was awesome. I have a lot of teammates from UCF and previous players like Mac Jones and Isaiah Hodgins that were there. So definitely a team that I'm interested in for sure. San Fran is a nice spot. It's a great team with great players. Talked to Christian, talked to Greg and all them, and I met George, and I talked to a lot of the people out there, and it's awesome. San Fran is definitely a spot that I'm looking at. And, Shanahan's the man. He knows how to call an offense, right? And they just got a lot of great weapons around there. So
they need a deep ball threat. All I'm saying, it's easy math for me. I'm no coordinator, but
hey man, listen, I give props to those guys. Those guys been making some plays. Jennings was making hella plays when he had to. It was awesome to watch. And Ayuk's a stud. He's a true number one player. And got a lot of respect for his game. So definitely a team that interests me because I like to be around great players like that. It's definitely a great opportunity.
Okay, so Gabe Davis, it sounds like he's putting on the full court press for the 49ers to sign him. He's talking very, very complimentarily of the 49ers. The question is, when will San Francisco be in a position to want to bring him in? Because Gabe Davis is recovering right now from a torn meniscus. He should be ready for week 1, but same thing as Christian Wilkins, except I think less dramatic. He's going to have to be cleared by any prospective team's doctors before that team offers a contract. So the 49ers really hosted him this spring on a meet and greet basis. Gabe Davis has obviously done it at a very high level. The 49ers project possibly having that receiver need once Gabe Davis is fully healthy. And if the stars align, it sounds like Gabe Davis would be very, very willing to sign a contract with the 49ers. But again, San Francisco has to offer one. I saw a really, really dumb comment on the internet today. It was just some random fan, but it was like, Gabe Davis is out there, but the 49ers chose to sign Quintez Cephas instead. And it's like, yeah, because Quintez Cephas is healthy and ready to practice right now. And that's what the 49ers need right now. They don't need somebody catching the ball on Sundays right now. They just need to get through the next practice because they've got a lot of receivers unavailable. They've got 3 wideouts currently unavailable for practice, and Kyle Shanahan wants at least 10 healthy guys out there. So, of course, they're not going to bring in another hurt guy. That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But once the time comes where Gabe Davis is A, fully cleared, and B, the 49ers are in position to start attacking games, or at least a lot closer to it, so they have a better idea of when Brandon Ayuk is going to be back. They have a better idea of how some of these rookies like Isaiah Neyor are developing. That's when a potential Gabe Davis signing could come. So credit to Up and Adams. Gabe Davis remains interested in the 49ers. Had a lot of nice things to say for San Francisco, but it's a two-way street. The 49ers have to offer him a contract for something to work. What a wild, wild day. The Neyor bomb started today. I'm going to open up. You guys see my notebook? I found this. You know how I call football organized chaos? I think that the camera is a little confused about what to focus on. Now it's just focusing on the notebook, right? Put it in front of my face. Organized chaos. Well, I found this at Office Depot, and I said, I got to get it. This has got to be the notebook for 2025 training camp. So we got a lot of stuff written down here on the notebook. We're going to go to today's notes. Day 2. Got a lot of stuff on day 2. Make sure that we've covered everything today. Why don't you start tossing your questions into the comment section? Why don't you go check out the article on the Standard? Make sure once you're done with this video to go check out the instant reaction from the helmet. Even interviewed a fan. Shout out to Randy from Hayward. He wanted a picture when I was done with my instant reaction. I was done recording, and I said, well, you just want to hop onto the instant reaction? So I just held out the mic, and I asked him a couple questions. So maybe that becomes a thing. Fans joining the instant reactions live over by the helmet. I just ask you, and Randy was perfectly respectful about this, but any fans who are out there, don't interrupt the instant reaction. But after, as soon as I wrap up over there at the helmet, if you want to be on the instant reaction, if you want me to ask you 2 questions and you could be the featured guest of the day. Well, I'm very open to it. I thought that was a pretty neat little serendipitous thing today. Randy came down from Hayward. He's at the end of the instant reaction video. So go ahead and check that one out when you do get the chance. Today, the practice started with John Lynch watching from center field. Lynch loves doing that because it's the same angle that he got to watch things from when he was a Hall of Fame safety with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Denver Broncos. So that's how practice opened, Lynch watching from center field. And then it began with Brock Purdy throwing dimes, Mac Jones throwing some dimes, Juwan Jennings getting a little upset when Mac Jones didn't throw him the football. I talked about that earlier. Juwan just cares so much. The emotion just is oozing out of this guy out on the field. And I think it's infectious. I think the passion with which Juwan Jennings plays makes everyone else care more. We got to see that today, and it wasn't a perfect day for Juwan. Let one pass slip through his fingers. That one throw that probably should have gone to him from Mac Jones went to a running back instead. But then Jennings had a big catch later on, and he sprinted down the sideline. And I mean, Juwan and the 49ers right now, that is a good faith arrangement. Jennings believes the 49ers will take care of him. I think the 49ers believe they'll find a way to take care of Juwan. Drew Rosenhaus's agent and the 49ers contract guys will try to figure that out. But I don't think that Juwan's going to be playing on a $7.5 million income this year. I think it's going to be higher than that. And we'll see how the 49ers in his camp thread the needle. The two second-team safeties for the 49ers right now, Marquise Siegel and Richie Grant. I know there's a lot being made of Robert Saleh saying that the safety position is wide open right now. I think that's what any coach is going to say at the started training camp, especially in a situation that the 49ers find themselves in. The two starters for the 49ers right now, like the two first stringers for San Francisco, are Jair Brown and Jason Pinnock. I think that Pinnock is going to be a week one starter for this football team. I think he's a Robert Saleh guy. He was with the Jets at the start of his career when Saleh was the coach there. He's a lot faster than Jair Brown. He's a very traits-based, toolsy prospect. I think that Jason Pinnock is going to be a starter for San Francisco. I don't think that Malik Mustafa will be back by week one. So I think if that's the case, Jair Brown probably has the inside track to start next to Jason Pinnock. But then you start to talk about how long will it take for Marquise Siegel to crack his way into the rotation because he's so physically gifted. I think the 49ers want traits-based safeties. Unfortunately for Jair Brown, he's not a traits-based safety. That's why he went in the third round, despite the fact that he had all those interceptions, 10 interceptions over his final two college seasons. Jair Brown is an instinct-based safety. If Robert Saleh wants these pure athletes, obviously he wants instincts too, but if he wants a little bit more athleticism at the position, that bodes really well for Jason Pinnock, bodes really well for Marquise Siegel, fastest 40 time out of any safety in this draft class. And obviously it bodes well for Malik Mustafa, who has a spot waiting for him when he returns from the ACL tear. Richie Grant is the backup safety, veteran free agent the 49ers brought in. I think that he's going to be relegated to the second team unless there are injuries that allow him to bump up. But to me, when I look at the safety battle, I see Pinnock with an inside track, and I see Mustafa with a spot. And then it's really, really all about how quickly Marquise Siegel can come along. I almost look at Marquise Siegel competing with Jair Brown because I really, really do believe that Jason Pinnock is somebody who's much more locked in than people might realize. All right, going through the rest of this, I talked about Mordecai, some of the struggles today. He even slipped as he was rolling out once, although I will say that Mordecai recovered nicely from that slip. Like he was rolling to his right. He almost stumbled and fell, but he was able to straighten up, back up, let the pass rush kind of cross his face. This was probably Tanner Mordecai's best play today. It was a day that he struggled otherwise. And he found Mason Pline, the tight end, who's wearing number 43 this year, for first down. It was you can never tell exactly how big the gain would be because there's no live tackling to the ground. Russell Gage, I mentioned at the top of this show, How about Christian McCaffrey, though? Let's talk a little bit more about Christian. Let's play the video of Christian. Mike just sent me a good video of Christian. He looks so good. And I don't know if you're going to be able to tell through the video, but it's worth trying right now. Here's Christian. Yeah, you're not going to be able to tell because it's slow motion. But first off, he's muscled up. I mean, this is the most muscled up I think we've probably ever seen Christian McCaffrey. He's jacked as hell. But I'm sure you've seen some of the videos that I've posted. I mean, the guy is moving very, very well. Kyle Shanahan called him a psycho again yesterday. Whenever Kyle Shanahan is calling Christian McCaffrey a psycho, you know that all is right in the world. I actually finished my article up on the Standard with that quote. I know that we talked about it yesterday. Well, we could bring it up on the screen now. Let's good photos again. I approve of all the photos. Yeah, let's bring it down on the screen. Let's take it right here, and we'll make this a little bit bigger so you all can see. All right, McCaffrey and his wife, Olivia Culpo, welcomed a baby daughter just before camp. That led to some playful teasing from 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan. I asked Christian if he was going to go change now that he's a dad. Is his personality going to be different? He was adamant that he wouldn't. So we'll see. I'm sure he won't. He's a psycho. Thanks to Kyle Shanahan. Calls Christian McCaffrey a psycho. Here is video evidence. That's the psycho himself, Christian McCaffrey. Mike also has some of the video. Maybe we can play that in a little bit. It's not the first time that Kyle Shanahan has called Christian McCaffrey a psycho. Good stuff. All right, time to move to the 49ers Q&A. It is open for business. Let's go. Big Brick 84 thinks that Pline will beat out Dwelly for tight end 3 and give the 49ers a big weapon in the red zone. It's all going to depend on blocking technique, guys, especially tight end 3. It's not going to be, maybe he'll give that to the 49ers, but he's going to have to be able to block at a very, very high level to earn his ticket into that spot. I'm just telling you that's what's the key is going to be for somebody like Mason Pline. Post your question. Who started at right guard today? Dominic Pooney. But Dominic Pooney is the 49ers right guard. Left guard is Nick Zakelj at the moment. I think that Matt Hennessy is an option at left guard, but probably the 49ers backup center. Like, I think that they're going to require versatility out of Hennessy as a depth piece. Nick Zakelj, if he ends up being a depth piece, that's also left guard center versatility for the 49ers. But right guard belongs to Dominic Pooney. Do players like Quintez Cephas and St. Brown, who may not make the 53-man roster, affect the salary cap? No, they don't. They don't even affect it right now in the offseason. This is not guaranteed money they signed for. They signed for league minimum deals. In the offseason, only the 51 most valuable contracts on the 90-man roster count against the cap. So obviously, minimum deals wouldn't count against that. And then if they do make the team, yes, they'd count against the 53-man roster, where everybody tallies against the cap. But if they don't make the team, then the money was not guaranteed anyway. So there is no salary cap impact with these signings. Scotty comes through with a super chat. I'm much more likely to answer super chat, so I appreciate Scotty coming through here. Expectations of run first offense still, or some evolution? No, the offense always evolves as far as quirks go, and some different tendencies change because you're playing the chess match against opposing defenses. But at the core, the 49ers base so much of what they do off the threat of the run. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to run more than they pass. Like, they could be a team that passes more often than runs, but I think it's still a run-first offense in that so much of what they do philosophically is based on the outside zone. That's like the trunk of the tree is the outside zone, is the run game, and now they run a lot more varied stuff on the ground. But you get my point. That is the structural pillar. Then everything that happens off of that, the window dressing, they could do a whole lot of window dressing, but the structural pillar is not going to change. They ran the ball on the first play of training camp in 8 straight training camps under Kyle Shanahan up until yesterday. And then they threw it. And it was a deep pass from Brock Purdy to George Kittle. And it was really fun to watch. And, you know, maybe that's got some people thinking, oh, this is going to change how the 49ers operate. No, there's going to be the year-to-year adjustments that Shanahan has to make. And maybe there is some more throwing here and there. But philosophically, this is a team that's always going to be about balance at the end of the day. Balance is what's needed. And because of that, there's a heavier emphasis on the run in San Francisco than there is elsewhere. Who will start at center? Jake Brendel is going to start at center, injury permitting. Never know if there will be injuries, but so that's why I can't guarantee you that he's going to start at center. But he has a hold on that job as we speak. How many sacks will Nick Bosa and Bryce Huff, Alfred Collins, Mykel Williams, CJ West have? Well, that's a lot of players. It's going to be a lot of math. The 2019 49ers had that great pass rush. They had they had around 50 sacks, I think, on the season. So if you can get above 40, you're going to be in a good spot if you're the 49ers. All right, this was Isaiah Neyor bomb day, the Neyor bomb. This has been a massive 49ers update. If you like what you heard, go check it out on the San Francisco Standard. Articles up there. We talked about the wild Christian Wilkins situation. Do the 49ers need defensive tackle help? And you could all go rewind and watch all this. Also watch the instant reaction from right outside the building. And of course, the Isaiah Neyor bomb. Well, this is the one from OTAs. And then there was another one today, which we can play one more time on Neyor Bomb Day. There it is. Mac Jones heaves it. Isaiah Neyor in triple coverage hauls it in. If you like what you see, hit the sub button. And if you've already done that, hit the notification bell. A lot more good stuff is coming up. We'll talk to you soon.